to a world that is artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, and new industry heavy. And with that, then schools have no option but to adapt to what is running in the market right now and prepare these kids pretty much for a world that will be ready to accept them in. So then how do schools shift and adapt to what it is we see today?
Yeah, so it may be counterintuitive, and the second part of your question will be the more obvious. The second part of my answer to your question will be the more obvious response. But the first part is, and what I think is key, is in this changing world that's becoming increasingly reliant on artificial intelligence, increasingly digital, increasingly technology-focused, increasingly virtual, I think it's so important that we focus on the human, right? So I think a fundamental part of a school's approach to education, and this will be really counterintuitive coming from the head of a STEM-focused school, is to say, let's not necessarily put the technology at the center first. Let's put the human skills at the center first. Let's cultivate students' social skills, their communication skills, their self-management skills, which also translate through social and emotional learning into their social and emotional skills in their interaction with others. Let's also not forget the spirit. You know, it's interesting, we're a STEM school, we're an international school, we're not a church school, but we have opportunities for promoting spirituality throughout the week at our school. We have religious services for various groups at the school so that students have access to them. There are Bible studies, there are groups for students to meet for catechesis, for prayer, etc. So let's cultivate the human. Let's make sure kids have opportunities to talk with each other, to collaborate with each other in a psychomotor way, in a physical way, to engage with nature, to have experiential education that's not just virtual. The other side of the coin is they have to know the technology, they have to know ICT, they have to know how to program, they have to understand how generative AI works, and how they can be manipulated by it so that they can become masters of this technology and not addicts of it, have mastery over it and not be mastered by it. And so that's all built into our program as well. In fact, the STEM modules that you will see that are project-based, where we have students learning in the labs for 4 hours at a time, or engaging on on-site work outside of the laboratories. These are very much focused on these kind of technologies that are necessary. 75 of our students are involved in coding. 75 of our students are involved in robotics. We have a cybersecurity module. We have a cybersecurity curriculum and an AI curriculum. So my students already know much more at the age of 13 and 14 about generative AI and how it works and what some of the dangers and pitfalls are than I do. And we're using technology, EdTech, intentionally to give them the best possible experience of learning. But that has to live in this dynamic and in this tension with promoting those human skills. And so, for example, our students only have their mobile phones on them on Thursday afternoons and evenings, Thursday evenings and Sunday afternoons. The rest of the week at boarding school, there's no access to that phone. There's no access to Instagram and to all the other social media platforms that can become their pitfall and can lead to this addiction. But they all work with a kind of tablet laptop hybrid. We have a learning management system. Many of our resources are digitalized. There are tons of educational tools and learning softwares that they're using. And so they are, as digital natives, becoming highly digitally competent and tech savvy at a level that our teachers are struggling to keep up with. And so we're giving them those tools and those skills so that as soon as they leave our school and go into the academy, I think they'd actually be ready for the workforce. They're already programming apps that are useful. We have a Lost and Found app at our school. It was programmed by one of our 7th graders, right? And it's working. It's working in an excellent way. We actually had one disciplinary issue. I shouldn't talk about this, but we were so impressed by the student's ability to break through a certain firewall that we decided this student needs to be promoted because they have such incredible potential that we've got to harness that potential for good. We've got to harness their skills for good and make sure that they're not getting bored in a school where they have this need or this drive to actually become a hacker, right? But rather make them a tech expert, make them an innovator, make them a designer of future technology that can contribute positively to human beings' experience of the world and to tackling those big challenges that we're facing, like climate change, among other things.
How do you ensure